Hey there, everybody. This is Kristen from Teaching Balance back with you for this week's meditation. And for our theme for today, I thought since this is the month of no, the month of saying no, which of course is about boundaries and finding your focus and paring away what doesn't align with that, I thought it'd be fun to kind of flip that and talk a little bit about saying yes. And by that, what I mean is saying yes to the present moment, even when there might be a temptation to have some resistance. And we're not really going to do like a deep dive into resistance because, again, I want to have a little bit more fun with this. But what I'm thinking about is thinking about this time of year and thinking about, now it's late January and it's still pretty dark and the holidays are over and there's kind of that long journey to the next 3-day weekend, and spring break certainly seems rather far away. And so there's this temptation to just kind of resist the fact that it's still dark, resist the fact that it's cold, resist the fact that it's a long way to spring. And instead, turning that upside down and just being willing to be with how things are. So I'm definitely going to put it in the context of winter, but I would encourage you to have that kind of transfer onto the experience of meditating itself today. So go ahead and let's get started. If you haven't already, find your seat, closing your eyes or lowering your gaze, and taking a few of those deep grounding breaths. And as always, throughout the practice, you can rest your attention on any of the three anchors, either on your breath, or on sounds, or on the body. If you decide to rest your attention on the body, allowing yourself to really notice what's going on with you. Last week we talked about stillness. You may notice a greater sense of stillness this week or a lesser degree. And knowing that either is entirely okay, you're just observing. And also just checking in with your body as a whole. Feeling what it feels like to be sitting and grounded. Feeling gravity as it holds you down. And what that resistance feels like, even when you're seated. Noticing any internal sensations that you might not have noticed until you actually took this time to pause and be present. And without telling yourself any stories about it, and in the interest of our theme today, really doing the best that you can to not resist it. So if there is any discomfort, allowing that discomfort. You're not feeding it, you're not trying to make it worse. You're just really noticing the sensation. So if you have a pain in your back, for example, what are the boundaries of that pain? Is it your entire back? Is it one side or the other? And what percentage of that side? Where is it? Or if you have any other sensations, whether they could be described as uncomfortable or neutral, just noticing those those little itches, those little twitches, and just being as fully present and as willing to accept whatever is in this moment for these few minutes. Now, if you'd like to explore this other element of resistance, you may be practicing first thing in the morning and it's dark. Perhaps it's not as warm as you would like. Just noticing what that feels like. And if you can, really surrendering to your experience. So whether it is dark in the early hours of the morning, allowing yourself to not resist that darkness, but to see it as an opportunity for perhaps a greater sense of restfulness during your practice. And if you're not entirely comfortable with the temperature in any way, looking that as an opportunity to rest your attention on something. Resting it on that sense of being chilled or perhaps even too warm. Just noticing and accepting as best as you can, and knowing that it's all part of the balance. Not being able to have the light without the dark. Not being able to discern temperature without its qualities of difference from one extreme to the other. And if you're currently sitting in a space that's light, noticing what that looks like. The light as you see it through your eyelids, or as you see whatever your gaze is resting on. Are there shadows, texture? What do you notice about that light? And if there's a grayness to it, which does often happen this time of year, not resisting that grayness, but instead seeing it as a part of this cycle so that you can appreciate the days that are sunny and blue skies. And if you care to, taking it even a little bit further and bringing to mind something that you're feeling some resistance about right now. It could be an interpersonal dynamic, it could be a responsibility, just a circumstance. And just for these few minutes of our meditation, seeing if you can loosen that resistance and perhaps just allow it to be as it is, particularly if there's no way for you to change or impact it in any way. As they say, accepting the things that you cannot change. It doesn't mean that you're saying that they're okay or you like it. You're just not actively resisting it, which is a subtle distinction. So for the last few minutes, I'd like to invite you just to, during our sit, notice if you're resisting anything, either physically or emotionally. It could be concrete or just an idea. Perhaps you feel like you're resisting letting go of your resistance. And just play with that with a real quality of acceptance and curiosity and compassion, as we always do, until the final bells. So that's 10 minutes. So hopefully you found this idea of saying yes and not resisting an interesting one. It is certainly something that if you bring it to the forefront of your awareness, you start to realize how much we do resist. For example, getting up in the morning on a work day. That's me anyway. But other things, resisting, some sort of limitation that you put on yourself or some circumstance that you just don't have any control over. The fact that the person in line in front of you is taking too long, whatever it might be. And even though I've said in the past I have mixed feelings about this word, playing with the idea of surrendering to the circumstances that you don't have control over. As I mentioned during the meditation, it's not about saying that you like it or that it's okay, but it's more just about being present with it in a way that's not actively resisting. So, thank you as always for being here and taking this time for yourself. Thank you for allowing me to be with you on this journey, and I look forward to being here again next week. Take care. I'll see you then. Bye.